Joining me in studio for a bit of instant analysis and reaction to that number, Cameron Judson, the CEO of Chandler McLeod. Cameron, look, thanks very much for joining us. Look, once again, these jobs numbers are proving quite a few economists wrong. We've held steady at 5.4%. Look, a surprise in your point of view, or what you were expecting?
I was expecting the unemployment rate to lift, as most economists had. I think the message below the numbers is there's a big shift still on foot between the mix of permanent and permanent part-time jobs.
And is that something you're seeing as well through your day-to-day business, that's being reflected, that switch between part and full-time?
Definitely. I described the second half of last year as a slowing economy, whereas the first half was more a patchwork economy. And that slowing economy is leading hiring managers to be much more cautious about their commitments around hiring permanent people.
And is that something that we're seeing across major sectors, or is it quite specific to certain industries?
I think it's quite general now. So my comment before about the slowing economy, it's much more widespread, whereas perhaps in the first half of last year you might have said there were sectors that were performing quite strongly. So I think that caution leading into Christmas has extended into January. Most companies will be looking at their results and contemplating what they do differently this year.
A little bit of a concern, I mean, particularly the idea of this now one-pace economy, one being of slowing, because previously we'd very much had the mining sector very much underpinning growth and underpinning employment as well.
Yes. Well, I think mining's a very small direct employer in the Australian economy. It's about 3% of the Australian workforce. But obviously the multiplier effect in terms of the services industries, the construction industry, engineering that supports that sector is really critical. So that slowing part of the sector is now having a multiplier effect through the rest of the economy.
Look, it's probably a surprise as well that we haven't seen the headline figure creep up more, considering a lot of the headlines we see, whether it be in the financial industry, whether it be in the mining. I mean, obviously yesterday BHP Billiton announcing yet more job cuts to go at Olympic Dam. It seems all the headlines are of job losses.
Well, I think part of that's about companies seeking to lift productivity and efficiency, but in doing that in a very blunt way by taking costs out.
Do you see the unemployment rates holding steady over the next couple of months, or would you predict we're going to see a rise in that rate?
I anticipate it will probably lift marginally in the next couple of months. And I think as we start looking forward to the second half of this calendar year and businesses start thinking about what they need to do differently, I'm more optimistic about the second half of the year.
You mentioned before productivity. It's an issue that we've seen very much hit the headlines over the past 12 to 18 months. It's something that has become an issue. You've recently done a survey in regards to productivity, sentiment and so forth out there. I mean, what is it showing?
What it's showing is that most organisations can describe what they think productivity is, but many organisations either don't measure it or don't know how to improve productivity in their organisation.
And how are they defining productivity? I mean, is it based around the talent that they're bringing in, or is it very much based around a cost versus, I suppose, output model?
I think the second example you gave, James, is the more likely way that most people are assessing productivity. And so you've seen a huge capital investment in our economy that's lifted productive capacity of the nation, but you haven't seen that translate into the same productive outcome in terms of the use of people. So productive capacity around talent and around mobilisation of workforces is something that still keeps CEOs awake at night. So our survey told us that CEOs are still concerned about, do we have the right talent or the quality of talent we need to be successful.
Is that becoming more of an issue? I mean, we do very much operate in a global environment. Attracting the top talent, is it getting harder?
Yes, I think it is, and I think there's also a challenge around developing skills in a way that those skills are the skills we need for the future productive capacity of the nation. So there are some immediate challenges around supply and demand in some of the professions. You could use engineering as an example. And to solve for that supply and demand problem, that's a long-term challenge. But equally, there are other skills we need to develop in the economy that will be the future productive capacity of business.
In terms of attracting the right talents, what are the strategies being adopted? Is it a case of just trying to be the guy out there who's paying the most amount of money, or does it go beyond that?
No, if you talk to employees, generally they'll tell you money's not a motivation in terms of finding work. It's one of the 10 things they'll contemplate. But intrinsically they're looking for leadership, culture, the brand reputation of the organisation, the skills they can develop in employment that present them with their next opportunity, either with that same employer or the next employer.
Cameron Judson, got to leave it there. Appreciate your time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, James.